Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. Thank you for joining us. A federal judge ruled Wednesday that President Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, breached his plea agreement with special counsel Robert Mueller. CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reid is at the White House. So, Paula, what exactly does the judge's ruling say?
Well, Elaine, once again, the president's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, has been accused of lying. And here a judge has found that, in fact, he lied to the special counsel, to the grand jury, and to the government about at least 3 different topics since he entered a plea deal. Now, let's go back to the summer. Over the summer in Alexandria, Virginia, he was found guilty of various financial crimes. He was convicted by a jury of lying to the government and lying to businesses in the course of various financial transactions. Then he faced a second prosecution here in Washington on a different set of charges. But in order to avoid the emotional and financial expense of a second trial, he entered a plea deal with special counsel. As part of that deal, they dropped some of the charges. He pleaded guilty. But in order for them to continue to pursue a lesser sentence against him, he had to be honest. You cannot lie in the course of a cooperation agreement. Now, the special counsel, Elaine, they had accused him of lying about 5 different subjects in the course of his cooperation. Here, the judge agreed with 3, but she says this absolves them of any responsibility. Now, the special counsel no longer has to abide by the deal that it made a couple months ago.
So what will this mean then, Paula, for Manafort's sentencing in March?
Well, he needed a pardon before in order to avoid spending likely the rest of his life in prison. Elaine, now he's really going to need a pardon to avoid spending the rest of his life in prison, because now there's no incentive for the special counsel to pursue a reduced sentence based on the charges that he has pleaded guilty to. He has made his life even more complicated. This also makes his family's life more complicated because as part of this plea deal, he was not forfeiting all of his assets. So here, this is not the kind of problem you want to have as an attorney representing you. I would argue that he is some of the best attorneys in the special counsel investigation. He is very well represented, but when your client lies, there's really not a whole heck of a lot you can tell the judge to avoid these consequences.
And what can we expect to happen then between now and the sentencing?
I think his lawyers are going to try to argue for the least harsh sentence possible, but right now the facts are not in his favor, Elaine. To enter into a plea deal like this in an investigation of this significance after you've already been convicted by a jury, and then to be found to have lied not once, not twice, but 3 times, the judge is not going to look very favorably upon that.
And is there anything Manafort's lawyers can do at this point to lighten his sentence?
Again, they can try to argue that he's lived a life free of crime, that he's been a good husband, a good family member. They can make all of the same boilerplate arguments that attorneys make on behalf of their clients. But Elaine, he has a conviction of various financial crimes in a separate case. He had all the charges piling up against him here. They were willing to drop some in exchange for his cooperation. But because he lied, they're going to add those charges back in, and he is facing the rest of his life in prison likely, unless, of course, he receives a presidential pardon. And there was even a suggestion at one point by the special counsel that perhaps he lied in an effort to get a pardon. But it remains to be seen what the judge gives him and whether or not the president wants to grant him or anyone else in this investigation a pardon. But one important note is that does not insulate him from any future state-level charges. So even if he gets a pardon from President Trump, he still could potentially be vulnerable to state-level charges.
Really important point. Paula Reid for us at the White House. Paula, thank you.